Okay, and we're back. So what I did here is I took all of these values. I actually separated the window and copied them, just typed them in. I could do that faster than copying and pasting them. But it has all of the color sets that I want. And I'm able to now take those and use them. Now, when I put them over into my P5 sketch, you can see here down at the bottom, I made it so that each of them is commented so that I know this is my dark blue color, this is my gray, grayish blue, happy yellow, orange, and so forth. So I put all of those in, so it made it a little bit easier for me to kind of handle and remember as we go. Now, what I do want is some sort of fill that happens before each of those, and you can type those in right now if you like, and give it a way to fill each of the rectangles we're going to make for them. Let's see, can I do this? And see here, I thought I could do this super fast. There we go. Okay, so I have fill commands, and if I were to run this right now, it's actually just going to fill in the last one that's at the bottom is going to be the one that wins. So you can see now the fill of that number is the only thing that it's actually coloring is that number. What I want to do, if we look again at the Joseph Albers one, you can see here I have a series of different rectangles, and I think in the example here I could make it so that this first one is maybe a little bit bigger than a quarter, and then this one's a quarter, and that one is another size there. So I could break those into different sections and then be able to string it across. Just to make it a little bit easier, let's make our version just be a quarter, a quarter, a quarter, a quarter as it goes across. Even though his proportions are really wonderful, we'll just make it a little bit easier for ourselves. So I've just changed the size of my canvas to be 800 wide and 400 high. So that gives me a little bit more space to kind of play with. And that'll make it so each of those can be either 200 if I want to break it up that way, or I can just do a way to use the built-in variable of width and then divide it by 4. So let's try doing it that way, because that way it's a little bit nicer, a little mathier, but it'll also, doesn't matter if I want to make this really big or if I want to make it be something, a little bit smaller, I could change the width and it's going to adjust proportionally as I go. So that's why I'm going to use the mathy kind of path to doing this. All right, so what I want to do here now is I want to make sure I'm doing a rectangle. So my rectangle here is going to be RECT. And my first one, I'm going to start at that very top corner here. And remember, that is 0, 0. And then I want it to be a quarter of the way across, a quarter of my width. And I want it to then also be the full height. So let's do that. So my path to do that is going to be 0, 0, because that's going to be the top left corner. And now I want it to be width, because remember, it's the X and the Y location where it starts, the top left corner, and then it's going to be its width and then its height. So its width is the first value I put in, width divided by 4, and then comma its height. And I'm going to use the built-in variable height because that'll make it the full height. Remember, I'm trying to make it look like the Albers example. So here we go. And if I run this one right now and take a quick peek, here you can see I've got one that comes down and it's that full kind of space. Now, in the Albers example, let's see what color is the first one. It's that orange color that is first. So let me flip those around so I can at least keep my colors in the right order. And I'm just going to quickly here kind of shuffle these. The blue one's going to be the third one, and the yellow is the second one. So yellow, blue, gray, grayish blue. And then the last possible one is going to be that brownish one, which is these two little spots there. So that'll make it a little bit interesting. All right. So let's try to keep this as a quick video. Let's see, there's my orange, and that kind of matches the orange that's there. It's close, not perfect, but it's close. And then let me make in the next quarter and be the yellow. So let's make another rectangle after that one. And she's using the rectangle. And for this one, I'm going to make it so it's already over width divided by 4, comma 0, because I want to start at the top. So my first starting point is there, which is a quarter of the way across already, and at 0. So let's do it that way. So width divided by 0, 0, and then the same width divided by 4. All of them are going to be width divided by 4 and height. So I could actually copy these for the next couple I do. I should probably put in a little semicolon there and run it. And now I've got my orange and my yellow. And if I do a couple more here, I'm going to this time actually just copy this one and put it after my dark blue one. I mean, all of these maybe could be tabbed in to, tabbed in to make them look a little bit neater. But I've got an option up here to clean up my code, I think, somewhere. Oh, maybe I don't have an option to clean up my code. So I think that was a feature they had and then temporarily took out because I think it was sorting out things the wrong way. Let me add the blue one. So I've got first my happy yellow, my orange. I'm putting a little extra space in here just to kind of maybe make it easier to see, but these spaces are completely ignored. I'm going to go down just a wee bit more. Let's see, here's my blue one. So I need this one to be how far over? Half of the way over. And it's still that same size. Let me run that one. There is my last one, or oops, here's my blue one. If I'm looking at the screen, it's opposite, so it's a little bit disorienting sometimes. And then let's see, my last one needs to be that bluish one, right? That lightish bluish one. And now I'll create that one. Let's put in, I'm pasting in that same value that I had before, and I'm going to do, how far over do I need that one to be? It's going to be a quarter. And I can actually play the math here and say a quarter times 3 and run that one because I have a quarter, and then I can make it be over 3 times as far as that first one was. And there we have our background piece. So to add in the last bar that goes across the middle, we can kind of think about how big that one is and move it. We have 400 for our top to bottom area, so it's probably down at least the 100 and up at least 100. Or is that one actually going to be that size? Let's try it out and see just what size we can make this. So I'm clicking on the wrong screen there. There we go. So I'm going to make another rectangle, my final rectangle for this one before we start playing with the sliders for it. And I'm going to make this rectangle be, I notice there's black lines actually around all these too. Now that I look really carefully, maybe I should add in a no stroke before I put in this rectangle. I don't want the black lines to screw up our perception. So I'm going to say no stroke for all of this. That means I won't have any lines around any of these rectangles. And hopefully that'll make it so that the perception of color is distorted, which isn't always what you want, but in this case we're trying to understand how they interact with each other, and having a black line between them won't help you. Try to see how your eye gets fooled. So our last one, let me run this one really quick without the rectangle and make sure. There we go. Okay, so now it's taking out all those fine black lines that were between all of them. And now what we want to make sure is that we can put in our last one and still have that kind of fool. So if I'm looking, I could run my mouse location program here and try to put it somewhere here. But really, this is, if I think about where this is probably down about a third of the way, down a third of the way, and in an eighth of the way. Because if this piece is a quarter, then this will be actually just an eighth of the way in. So my rectangle then is going to be rectangle, and my width is going to be width divided by 8, and my height divided by 3, because I'm a third of the way down. And how wide do I need it to be now? I need it to be, let's think, quick on our feet math here. I want it to be just, let's see, my height is going to be height divided by 2. And I need to put another width in there. My width is going to be width divided by 8 times, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I want 7 out of the 8. So I'm going to say width divided by 8 times 7. And I think that height is wrong now that I think about it. What do I get? I get something that's a little too tall. All right, so it's not that. It's 3 times 2. Oh, I put a comma where I shouldn't have put a comma. 3 times 2. Oh, not 3 times 2. 3 times what? 6 is going to be too short. Ah, that's much better. So here now we've got our bar kind of going across. My width is still a little bit too far across. Let me just do this as a straight up number rather than trying to do the scaling for this one. So if my width is the 400, I really only want it to be 700. Probably an easier route to go. Oh, but it's starting part of the way in, so 500. Ah, so there we go. We have our bar that's going across here. Now, what's the kind of the trick is that they're all in kind of the wrong order. I really need to sort these out so that the middle two are behind this so I get the size and the shape and the boxes that I want. So all I need to do now is realize that my brownish box, this brownish box section, needs to happen before these two layers, before the happy yellow and before the dark blue. I'm just changing my order. So my dark blue and now my gray, I want that to actually be behind. So now I have the orange and the gray behind. There we go. And now when I run it, I should get something that's very similar to the Joseph Albers version that we were looking for. So we're not perfect maybe, but we're in the same ballpark. Guess I can make the size be a little bit smaller and a little more square to give me a little bit better angles for it. But I was trying to do it all just so I could adjust it and make it bigger in scaling. I'd have to play with the scaling just a little bit to figure it out. But this is a good example. And what we're going to do next is we're going to link our different sides now to our sliders, and that'll actually make it so that we can do this much, kind of tweak it and mess with our eyes and see just exactly where it all goes wrong. So tune in for the next one. This one, I'm sorry, this was a little bit longer one as we work through and get all the colors and all the pieces across. But I hope you paused it and figured it out and got to where you are now. This one for this next assignment is a little bit tricky. See ya. Hope to see you next time. This was a little bit tricky, but I think it's really something doable and just kind of have to step through it a little bit slowly until you get all the colors you want and then play with it. You don't have to pick these colors. There's lots of examples if you were to search up Joseph Albers that you could use, and that would actually get you to the place where you might want to play with those colors instead of the ones I have. Pick a color that you like, set you want to use, because when you submit this to the classroom, other people can really actually give you feedback and say these colors really were ones that I was fooled by or not fooled by, and it's a color exploration. So I really encourage you to kind of play with it and find other colors. I did one that was kind of a copy, but I think you should really pick ones and explore and see what works and what doesn't work for you.